What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. Welcome to episode 3 of the podcast. Today, I am interviewing Nate Swift. He is a super knowledgeable investor over in the Springfield, Massachusetts market. This episode was really informative, especially for newer investors and even first-time home buyers, and I can't wait for you guys to hear what Nate has to say. Let's get right into the episode. What's going on, guys? This is episode 3 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, I get the great pleasure of interviewing Nate Swift. He's a real estate investor out of Springfield, Mass. I have a feeling this is going to be a really informative and awesome interview. What's going on, Nate? What have you been up to? How has things been?
Everything's been pretty good. Just living life, enjoying life, trying to, grow myself in real estate. How about you?
That's the name of the game, man. Pretty much. So, to jump into things, what got you into real estate, and what's your backstory?
So what got me into real estate was my father was actually into real estate part-time. I think he owned about 4 houses. 1 was a duplex and 3 were single families. So that kind of gave me the idea to say, okay, if he could do it, I could do it too. Mm-hmm. So that kind of got me started in real estate, my father.
That's great. Were those in Massachusetts, or were they spread around, or?
So actually, I'm from Enfield, Connecticut, but I invested in Springfield, and my dad invested in Connecticut and Springfield.
Cool. That's pretty cool. Okay.
So,
that's not bad.
Both Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Yeah, definitely. What is your drive and your why for the long term? Did it come from your dad, or do you have a separate big reason, or what's your fire?
My fire is definitely getting out the 9 to 5. That's my fire. Living life on my own terms, being able to travel, being able to have the free time, have experiences. So that's definitely my drive. And where I got my fire from, my mom is a really hardworking woman, same as my father. So I definitely get the drive from them. And, my mom's still working very hard right now. So she's definitely a reason, a motivation why I'm doing this. So
that's great. That's awesome to be able to have that, kind of backbone to motivate you to keep going when things are tough, and, being able to have that, that support.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Would you mind telling the story of how you acquired your first property? What kind of financing was it, and any big lessons that you learned from it? Anything that really stuck out?
Yep. So the first house that I got into was actually an FHA loan. So with an FHA loan, you put down 3.5% on the property. You need a 580 credit score, but preferably you would want a credit score in the 700s so that you could have more control of what interest rate you land with. My property was $280,000, and my down payment was $9,700. I did pay extra on the property, so I knew I was buying a higher end property. But what I decided to do is I was like, okay, I know that if I could buy this brand new renovated property, I know that I'm going to get max rents. I know it's going to be easy to get people in. It was completely vacant. So I was like, all right, I could start fresh, max rents, and, start the journey like that, not have giant, big expenses to, having to deal with fixing this and fixing that. So that's how I got into my first property.
That's awesome. I forget if you said it, I'm sorry. Was it a duplex, a 3-family, 4-family?
Yeah, it was a triplex.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So did the cash flow from that pay for your mortgage right away? Were you living for free right away, or was it close? Did you still have to pay a couple $100 for your mortgage yourself, or how did that go?
So what I decided to do, and why my cash flow went way beyond my mortgage, was I decided to live in one of the units just in the room. So it was on the first floor. I rented it out family, second floor family. And they were each paying $1,350. Yeah. And then on the third floor where I lived in, I had 2 roommates. One's paying $400, which is actually my friend, and the other one's paying $550. So I think I was making roughly around $1,800. I don't know. You could do the math somewhere around.
That's beautiful, though. That's to be able to mix the strategies like that.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing that's possible. If you have multiple people living in one property, you don't necessarily have to just get the rent from the units. You can, like you did, rent to your friends in your own unit and, be able to make more that way. That's super creative. That's great. What do you consider to be the biggest variable to expand your portfolio? Like networking or, just constantly running numbers, marketing yourself, like mailers? Like what has been like the biggest thing for you to kind of put you in the spot where you've been?
So I would say definitely having a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely having a good realtor, someone that knows what you're looking for. So specifically for me, I'm looking for 3 and 4 family properties in the city of Springfield. So what I do, just a quick tip, is I actually have my realtor send me notifications. So every morning I get an email and I'll get a blast of houses that coming up on the market, and I just analyze them. And from that point, I say, is the cash flow good? How many? What is the average rents? What's the size of the square footage? What else? If it has parking, if there's a garage, all those variables. And from that, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. But yeah, so definitely a realtor to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You definitely have a mortgage company for financing. So for me, I'm doing traditional. So I go to any mortgage company and just say, hey, are you guys doing 20%? Because preferably that's what I want to put down on my second property. So yeah, realtor, mortgage company, and then you definitely need a maintenance man. You're gonna need a maintenance man, whether your property is brand spanking new or if it's old and torn up, you're gonna need a maintenance man for sure. So definitely keep that in mind. And then if you want to keep it passive, I would say have somebody to do the lawn because you don't want to cut grass or shovel. So
yeah. No.
So those 4.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. Those 4 are imperative. So
it's super important. So for like a maintenance man, would that be like a property manager in one case, or could that be like a tenant that you would like drop the rent down a little bit, if they did certain stuff, or like what have you kind of done so far? Like how did you get your maintenance man?
So I found my maintenance man through actually networking. I actually know a guy that flips houses. He's actually a close friend of mine. And I actually met him at Home Depot when I worked at Home Depot.
Really?
And he had a maintenance man. He had a guy that was going in there and, doing his flips for cheap. So I said, hey, Nick, I was wondering if I could get you over here. I have a leak in the wall. I was wondering if you just come over and take a look at it and we can figure this out. He said, yep. And then from there, it's been great ever since. But definitely have more than one maintenance man when you're doing this because sometimes they're going to have bigger jobs. They're going to rather do more expensive jobs because they got to feed their own families as well. Mm-hmm. So have, I would say, 2 or 3, the least amount for maintenance men.
That's really important. I honestly didn't really think about that kind of thing. I feel like that's like a lesser known kind of thing that you really need, so when stuff does hit the fan, you have those couple people in place to be able to take care of that right away, and square that away. That's genius, man. That's really important. Definitely taking that into consideration.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on to the next question. What is the most important lesson that you've learned over your career so far?
The most important lesson I would say is stay hungry, but stay patient. Be very eager, but also be grateful for where you're at because real estate is a long-term thing. You're not going to be rich off your first deal. You're going to make money if your numbers are right and if you buy the correct property. But you're not going to be rich. You have to be patient. You have to stay focused and just take it day by day. So be patient, but be hungry.
That's beautiful. That's great. What are the most effective resources that you have most for sharing your journey? Besides an awesome maintenance team.
I'm sorry, you went out. Can you ask that again?
Yeah, I think it kind of jumped around. What are the most effective resources that have helped you most far on your journey, besides your awesome maintenance team?
So I would say, I would just say people, networking, because I talked to a mortgage guy, and he kind of directs me on, all right, how much am I going to need next based off of the price I'm trying to buy my next property at? What type of financing, am I going to need? How much money am I going to need? So that kind of keeps me aligned in my goals, so I know which direction and the target I want to go. So I'd say mortgage guy. And I would say just mentors. Mentors are very important. They keep you focused. They give you great advice. And definitely, just like a maintenance guy, have more than one mentee or mentor or whatever. Because you have people that are doing many different things. They have many different experiences, and they're going to tell you many different things. So you got to find that thing that's going to drive you, what you want, and, not use them, but use their resources, the knowledge that they tell you to direct your path. So.
Yeah, that's great. It's definitely really important to keep networking. There's a lot of things that, you can't really do yourself necessarily. And it's much better to, be able to know people that have done what you're trying to do, like, and then some. Because, most of the time, at least from my experience, these people are usually pretty happy to have these conversations with you and, kind of take you under their wing a little bit and be able to help you out. And that was a big thing that really changed in my mind relatively recently, actually, that, a lot of these people actually really want to help, people who don't really know as much. And that was definitely something huge.
And something that us new investors don't realize is that people love to talk about what they do. So we shouldn't feel like it's a burden to, talk to people, say, hey, how'd you get into real estate? Or, how long have you been doing this? Or, just asking them simple advice, tips, or whatever. So people love talking about what they do. I know I do. So just talk to people, be outgoing, and you're gonna get the advice you're looking for.
Totally, 100%. What is something that you thought about business, networking, or like creating wealth that changed as you went along? Like as you got more experience?
I would say a direct tip. I would say definitely have reserves. Always. Definitely intend to leave money aside for maintenance cost. Let's see, what else? Those things are big. And just to, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
That's okay. What is something that you thought about business, networking, or creating wealth that changed as you went along?
Patience. I feel like you definitely have to deal with attitudes when you have to deal with tenants. They're real people. They're not robots. Like, you're going to have to deal with the attitude. People are going to do what they want. And sometimes keep your mouth shut and hear what they have to say. And sometimes you have to push your ego aside and then, allow them to say what they say and be 100% professional about it. So there's a lot of things, but, I would stick with those things.
Would you say that like empathy is kind of a big thing when it comes to dealing with tenants, like being able to step in their shoes and like kind of hear their side of the story?
Absolutely, because I could say, oh, this is a statistic, but many people in America are struggling. Many people in America are living week to week in any city, large or small, big. So you have to you have to have empathy. I actually had a tenant pay me, and they were $25 short.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm cash flowing good. I got a good job. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm managing well. So I'm like, $25. I let them know. I said, hey, you guys pay me $13.25. I need the $13.50 next month. I was stern about it, but I wasn't aggressive with it, and I wasn't being greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely have empathy with being understanding. If they're short, they're short. Just don't let them get used to that. Be stern about what you're saying, but understand where they're coming from and understand that people are struggling.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's definitely something that like a lot of people kind of think that like, all these landlords are greedy and everything, they just want as much money as they can and whatever. But it seems like there's kind of a balance with that between like letting people take advantage of you and then like taking, reaching that kind of level.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say there's kind of a balance there, like from your experience so far, or?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would say be reasonable. Be reasonable, understanding, because you never know. You could be in their shoes one day. Never say never. So just be understanding and be a human being. Show love, show grace, be peaceful, and they understand what type of business you're in, and you understand what type. So just be a human being, but obviously still stick to the business blueprint, so to speak.
That's real. That's awesome. Moving on to our next question. What is your best piece of advice to new investors that want to start and manage their rental portfolio? I know there's been tons of amazing advice already from you, but
So I have a good tip. So for investors or future investors that want to get into owning their first property, and for example, going about it the traditional route where they're going to use an FHA loan and put the 3.5% down. You could actually, so if say you get into the workforce after college, you've been in the workforce for a year, you could actually use that previous year before that you were in college as a work year, technically. And mortgage companies allow young people that have just gotten out of college after a year to buy a house because they want to encourage young people to buy houses. So yeah, you could have a year of experience after college. You could take the year of experience, your last year of experience of college, and technically they'll put that together as your 2 years of work history. And as long as you have everything else, like your down payment and your credit is good, they're going to say, all right, your work history is good. So from that point, you won't have to wait 2 years after you get out of college. You only have to wait 12 months, which is a lot shorter and a lot better. I'm trying to see if another thing that's important. So another thing that's important for young investors that haven't really necessarily gotten to real estate, have mentors, because mentors will allow you to align your goals in your own head. Because when you're first starting to get into real estate, you could hear all these paths. You could get into wholesaling, you could get into buy and hold, you could get into flip. But in reality, you got to figure out what you want for yourself. So you have to have certain mentors that are going to be able to help you with certain aspects of the business, and they'll be able to directly align you on where you're trying to hit your target.
Yeah. I'm really glad you said that about the 2 years of work experience, because guys, I was talking to Nate on Instagram one night, and I thought I had to wait, the full 2 years, to get one more year under my belt at my current job. And Nate just totally blew my mind. And he's like, oh, you can probably use 1 year, at your current job, and then 1 year from school, which I was in, a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, all right, that sounds amazing. Like, let me go find out. So then I talked to a lender, and I ended up getting pre-qualified. Literally, that would have never happened, literally for the next year if I didn't have that conversation with Nate. And, not to go off on a tangent, but, the networking can literally change everything like it did for me. Literally, like, you helped me save literally an entire year because of something that I didn't know. And that's insane. Like, that's so crazy. And I'm definitely going to, make this into, like a really important highlight clip, to tell a lot of the people that, are relatively around my age, on the younger side, still in college, that
Yep.
it's not necessarily 2 years after you go to college or graduate college, like you said, but you might be able to make it 1 and 1, or, you're 2 years old at college. It's not necessarily dry and dry. That it has to be 2 years after or whatever. That literally was something extremely, extremely big that I did not know. And
So for some of you guys that are watching on Mr. Kyle Curtin's podcast, you may be qualified right now. So go check, go look, and keep in mind of that fact right there, because you may be qualified.
100%. That changes so much stuff. That's so important. It's ridiculous. It totally changed everything. What is a common myth about building a portfolio that you want to debunk? Like something that, people think is a certain way, but it might not actually be. Or actually, the 2 years is a great one if you want to use that. But
let's see. Oh man, this one's a hard question. Can you ask it again?
What is a common myth about building a portfolio that you want to debunk?
That you don't have to put 20% down after your second property, or after your first property, I'm sorry. Because if you're using traditional lending, you have to put down 20% for multifamily, just multifamily. 20%, 20%, 20%, sometimes 25%, sometimes 30%, but you could always find lenders at 20%. If you wanted to buy your second property and it be a single family property, say you wanted to rent out the rooms in there, or you wanted to make it Airbnb, you could actually get traditional financing on your second property. It has to be a single family property though. You could put down 5% on a conventional loan. So it makes it a whole lot cheaper to be able to say, hey, I have a second rental. I want to get into a second rental, but I don't want to put down 20% on a $200,000 house plus closing costs. That could add fast. So for example, if you have a $100,000 or let's just say $150,000 property, for 5% down payment, you're going to need $7,500. So it's way less than putting 20% down on a $200,000 multifamily. That's a big difference right there. So you don't always have to put down 20%. You could also get into creative financing, but I'm not specialized in that. So
not yet. Yeah, that's so important. Guys, definitely, do your research and continue to learn. All these kind of things that, you think are common information, because it might be a lot different than what you actually hear versus, what you can do. Like I said earlier, like it's not necessarily cut and dry, by the book. There are very flexible options that you might be able to come across, when the time comes. But yeah, definitely, that's huge. And
yes, always stay open-minded and realize that it's a relationship-based business. So you could grow your portfolio by somebody just really loving who you are. So keep that in mind.
And definitely, guys, be yourself when it comes to the networking. At one point or another, the most experienced investors, agents, lenders, they were all at the same point, when they first started out. And, just because you may not know a lot, that doesn't mean that, you're I guess, like any lesser quality, I guess. Like whoever you are, like people definitely still want to have these conversations with you. You never know who you're going to meet out there, regardless of if you don't know anything about real estate or, really any field in general, or, like a ton and it's, you eat, sleep and breathe it. Just like whatever point you're at, go out there and meet people because it's going to change everything, guaranteed.
Absolutely. And definitely don't be discouraged when people are not nice to you, because I've had moments where there was a guy actually building a duplex about 3 houses down from mine. And I was like, hey, what's going on? I'm Nate. I was like, oh, how much are the rents? I just asked him. I didn't let him know I was a landlord, and he didn't want to talk to me. So, and he wasn't very nice. So don't let that discourage you. Stay focused, stay forward, keep doing what you're doing, keep networking, keep grinding, keep killing it. So
I love it. That's awesome. That's so true.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Nate, do you read? And if you do, what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone?
I'm not the biggest reader, but you should definitely read some books, some type of books. I read a lot on Instagram. But the most important book that will absolutely flip your mindset and have you thinking in the right way is Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I know that's like such a common book, but Rich Dad Poor Dad, I give it to everybody. And just pass that knowledge along is good. So Rich Dad Poor Dad will have you thinking in that open mindset, realize that the rich don't work for money. So Rich Dad Poor Dad for sure. Absolutely.
100%, man. I love it. I love to hear it. I know, people talk about it all the time, but it really is like that much of a crazy book. I remember I literally paid $8 for that book, and that's probably going to be one of the best investments that I'll ever make. 100%.
Absolutely.
Every year, that book completely changes lives.
Absolutely.
It's just something.
Like if you buy the book Rich Dad Poor Dad 10 times over and it costs you $80, it's still gonna be worth the price. So definitely, go on a couple of websites. You can get books for really cheap. Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm sure you can find it anywhere from like $5 to $15 for sure. Cheaper.
Yeah. I wish I could give a copy of that book to literally everybody in the world, especially kids, people a lot younger to kind of transform that mindset a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of know what's possible.
I don't know if you're going to do a visual on this, if you're going to see my face, but I actually have the book with me, and I could show it to people if you want me to.
Sure, go right ahead, man. Yeah.
All right. I'll be back. One moment.
Okay.
So, Rich Dad Poor Dad, this book will change your life. It's with this guy right here. He's a genius. So, anybody that is interested in reading books and wants to get started in real estate investing, definitely check this book out right here, Rich Dad Poor Dad. You won't miss out on anything by reading that book. You're missing out by not reading it.
Ooh, I love it. I love the way you worded that. Even like anybody in general, even if you're not into real estate, so to say, I feel like that book can help anybody in general to know what assets and liabilities are, and kind of why, the rich get richer and how they create that. Because it's not really well-known knowledge. Yeah. And it's a completely different ball game, completely different mindset in that book. It's easily worth its weight in gold. And it's severely undervalued for what it is.
Knowledge and relationships. Important.
100%. But anyway, Nate, thank you so much, man, for coming on here. It really means a lot. There's been tons and tons of value in this episode. I can't wait to post about it and tell people about it. And guys, definitely follow Nate. Where can you be reached best, actually, Nate? If somebody found like a property or something, where can you be best reached, for business as well as, I know you're on Instagram as well.
Yeah, so my Instagram is My Instagram is _ Nathaniel Swift. That's my Instagram. And then I'm not really on any other social media platforms that are real estate, but my phone number is, shoot me a text. Let me know who you are. And if you have a random question, my phone number is 860-849-5428. And just shoot me a text, and I don't have to know who you are, but if you're talking about real estate, I'm going to be like, oh, you're talking about real estate. I got you. So.
I love it, man. 100%. But thank you so much, Nate. You know, it really means a lot that you came on here with me. I definitely, it's an honor to have you on, especially after talking to you for a while. It was nice to, like I said, see you face to face for once after we've been talking for a long time. But have a great night, man. All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Biggerpockets. Until next time, let's build together.